A little more than half a century ago, one simple skill changed history. Unexpectedly, when a girl from Belarus, Olga Korbut, in the USSR did the first backflip on the balance beam and the first flight skill on the uneven bars, she left the world in awe and did the unthinkable, uniting East and West for just one moment, pausing the Cold War, followed by a girl from Romania, Nadia Comaneci, who inspired a generation, proving that the P in perfection stood for possibility, scoring six perfect tens at one Olympic Games and defeating the Soviet dynasty at its peak. Gymnastics is a sport where history is in the hands of anyone at any moment, where greatness is determined only by skill, not background, and the impossible is only impossible until someone proves it never was. That anyone can reach the top, but anyone can collapse to the bottom as well. No one knows what the next page will say in the gymnastics history book, but everyone wants to be the main character in the next chapter. I'm going to be giving y'all an intro to women's artistic gymnastics and teaching y'all in depth lessons about the sport. In the first part, I'm going to be covering the rules, talking about the code, and covering vault in particular and the history of the sport. So don't be leaving questions about this and this and that and etc. because I'm going to get to that. This video is not going to be overwhelming you. I'm just going to be trying to give you the basics, like giving you an understanding of gymnastics, right? I'm going to be doing future videos really diving in depth. So don't be leaving no questions about no difficult ass shit because that's going to come to you in the next video, okay? I'm going to need y'all hoes to take notes about what I'm going to say so y'all can keep up. But anyway, when I was in military school, I taught my class about gymnastics for 10 minutes for a presentation. And I was able to teach people a lot about gymnastics within those 10 minutes. And if I could do that, I could teach, my subscribers, like teach all they peoples about gymnastics, the basics. So I really appreciate being able to do that for you guys. And I want you guys to, tune in through this video. But women's artistic gymnastics has four different events, of which have evolved tremendously yet stayed the same. Vault, the uneven bars, balance beam, and floor exercise. That is the Olympic order. And at major events, gymnasts will go always go in that order from vault to bars, from bars to beam, from beam to floor, and etc. That's always going to be the Olympic order at a major competition. The biggest rule book in gymnastics is known as the Code of Points. The Code of Points is the rule books of gymnastics. After every Olympics, known as a quadrennium, every quad, as we call it, rules are changed for the next Olympics. So basically, after the Olympics, they change the rules to a different set of code. Like they'll change the value of a lot of different skills and etc. They'll change the start values of certain vaults. Like everything's always going to change depending on the code. Sometimes it can be minor, sometimes it's major. For example, in the most recent code, all vaults got devalued by zero point 0.4. So every vault was worth substantially less than it was the previous quadrennium, if you get what I'm trying to say. Dakota points encourage gymnasts to do different skills and gives each skill a value. I'll explain more so in the next part of this series. Prior to 2006, the highest score a gymnast could get is a 10. Now, gymnasts can still get a 10 in execution despite that being practically impossible, but they also get a difficulty. So, depending on how difficult the skills are on your routine, you're going to get a D score. You're going to add the D and E score together to get your total score in gymnastics versus just your score being out of 10. The best recipe to understand gymnastics for some of y'all hoes that's really good at algebra that like math equations is E plus D equals F. In other words, execution standing for E, D difficulty standing for D equals S, which stands for score. E plus D equals S. And sometimes E plus D plus P equals S, with the P standing for penalty, because penalties aren't added to your difficulty or execution. They're separate deductions. So you're going to take your E, your D, and your P, and that's going to equal that is going to equal your total score. But also, I want to say that your execution is basically how many deductions you get. So, however many deductions you get in your routine is going to be a deduction. In gymnastics, there are four major deductions for the most part. You have your minor deductions, which are only 1/10. You have your 3/10 deductions. These are major, like not major, but pretty good size deductions. You have 5/10 deductions. These are like really horrible deductions, like almost as bad as it can get without a fall. And then you have a full fall, which is when you fall. So that's like deductions. All your skills put together equal the total deductions you'll get, which I'll explain in a more in-depth video in a future video. The biggest competition in gymnastics is the Olympics, followed by the World Championships, then Continental Championships, for example, the European Championships or Pac Rams or etc. The Olympics and World Championships have six events. They have the team finals, the all around, the vault, the bars, the beam, and the floor. In team finals, in qualifications, the most important round of competition, which allows you to qualify to the major medal winning events, which are those six competitions. So in team finals, the top eight are going to qualify to the team finals. The team finals is going to be a 3-up 3 count. Three gymnasts are going to go up on vault, bars, beam, and floor, and those three scores are going to count to the team total. And that's how gold, silver, and bronze is awarded in the team competition. In the all around competition, is kind of different. So in the all around, the top 24 gymnasts advance to the all around finals, only two per country. So you can be third in the world, but if your countrymen are first and second, you're not going to qualify to the all around. So the top two per country, as well as the top 24 gymnasts, are going to qualify to the all around final. That's how the all around works. In the all around, you're going to take your best vault, bars, beam, and floor score, and whoever gets the highest of the four total is going to win the prestigious all around title. For the event finals, vault is the only one that's different. So to qualify to vault finals, a gymnast has to do two different vaults from two different families. And once a gymnast does those two different vaults, they're going to take two vaults. They're going to average those two vault scores together. Whoever gets the best of those is going to win gold, silver, and bronze on vault. Bars, beam, and floor is the same for the most part. Only the top eight qualify as well, just like vault. Also two per country. But on those events, it goes by just the same thing. Like whoever gets the highest bar score wins. Whoever gets the highest beam score wins and gets gold, silver, and bronze after that. But obviously, top two per country. Those are things to remember. Only eight advance to vault to event finals, to vault, bars, beam, and floor finals, and 24 advance to all around. You have to be the top two in your country to advance to anything. Okay, so those are the major rules to understand in gymnastics. As a team, to advance to the Olympics as a team, you have to qualify at the World Championships. You have to qualify at the World Championships as a team. So that's how gymnastics works in terms of the major rules and etc. Now I'm going to be explaining the vault, which is the first event in the Olympic order. Vault is the easiest to understand, which is why I'm giving it to y'all in the intro to gymnastics. Like I feel like I can explain vault without having to like really get y'all invested. These other videos, I'm going to be making y'all head work, okay? So I'm not going to be doing all that with this. So unlike other events, start values are built in each vault. So in other words, each vault is awarded a start value. For bars, beam, and floor, you have to actually calculate the D score. And on vault, you're just given a D score for your vault. So that eliminates like trying to figure out how certain things can happen. But vaults can be devalued. So just because you're given, let's say, the most common vault as of now is a double Sissy Yurchenko, which means a double Sissy Yurchenko is worth a 15, or a 5-0 difficulty, which means the maximum score you can get is a 15. But if you don't complete the second twist, they can downgrade that to a 1.5, which means you're going to lose a difficulty. But for the most part, you get the difficulty assigned to your vault. The most common vault entry is called a Yurchenko vault. A Yurchenko vault is you're just doing a round off backhand spring onto the table. So you're going to do a round off onto the springboard. You're going to do a back handspring onto the table. You're going to leave the table and do a salto, which is what we call which are flips, so we call them saltos in gymnastics. So that's a Yurchenko style entry. Other popular entries, like these are like almost every gymnast are going to do these entries. So Yurchenko's the most. You also have the Sukahara entry, which is uh you're gonna run onto the springboard, you're gonna do a round off onto the table, you're going to do a salto after you do the round off onto the table. There's also the front handspring entry. So you're going to run onto the horse. You're going to hit the springboard just like you're going to do your Sukahara, but you're going to do a front handspring onto the vault table. So you're going to come on the vault table forward. You're going to leave the vault table forward and do a forward flip. You're always going to go forward if you come on the vault table forward. And there's also another entry that's very popular, which is a Yurchenko vault, but with a half twist, a Yurchenko half twist entry. So you're going to do a round off onto the table. You're then going to do a half twist onto the horse. And you're going to leave the horse and do a forward salto into a flip. So those are the four entries. You have the main one, which is the Yurchenko, that's the most popular. You have the Sukahara, a round off onto the horse. You have the forward handspring entry, just a front handspring onto the horse. Do you have the Yurchenko entry with a half turn? So a round off onto the table, then a half turn onto the horse, and then leave the table with a forward flip, just like the front forward entry. Most gymnasts are going to do similar vaults. They're very distinguishable. The most common vault for most popular gymnasts is a Yurchenko double twist. So you're going to do a round off onto the table, a back handspring onto the horse. You're going to do a double twisting Yurchenko off the horse, a double twisting laid out twist. Their vaults are really easy to tell. Like you can just look at them and tell how if they're square correct. Like you know what a bad vault looks like, you know what a good one looks like. So you want to land in the center. If you land in the center, that means you're not going to get like any deductions at all in terms of where you land. You also want to try to stick the landing. You want to get plenty of height, plenty of distance from the table. You also want to keep your legs together. Like you want to not twist off the table early. Like it's really self-explanatory. So, to beginners, it don't really take that much to understand vault. Like I don't think anyone ever explained vault to me. Like I just kind of like got it. I never had to do really research on it. Like it's certain shit I had to find out about like vaults no one ever does. But for the most part, vault is very self-explanatory. So I'm gonna ask y'all a question. So a front full twist or a forward entry into a full twist is worth a 5-0 or a 15, right? So a Rudy, which is actually somewhat of a popular vault, is a front handspring vault into a layout 1.5 twist forward is worth a 5.4. So if a full twist is worth a 5.0 and uh, 1.5 is worth a 5.4. What is a front vault with two twists worth? They always go up zero point 0.4. I'm gonna let y'all think about it. So it's always gonna be worth 5.8. So just know that in gymnastics, for the most part, every vault when you add a half twist goes up by zero point 0.4. Failing to land feet first will result in getting a 0. If you run before the light turns green, you're also going to get a 0. So learn how to play red light, green light in gymnastics, okay? So if the light is not green and you run, you're going to get a 0 on your ball. If you make contact with the horse, but you do not do a skill, you're going to get a 0. So let's say you touch the vault table but decide to turn away, you're going to get a 0 off. So making contact with the vault before doing one vault is also worth a 0 as well. So those are the major things to understand. The way to get penalties on vault is obviously to wait too long or etc. to do your vault. If the most common penalty on vault is just going out of bounds, and that's for floor exercises, which I'll talk about. If you step outside the perimeter on vault, you're going to get a penalty. So those are the major things to understand about vault, but for the most part, it's very self-explanatory. Gymnastics is unpredictable. What seems to be the most likely becomes the unlikely. No one is 100% sure as to whom or who will be the future of the sport and influence the next course of history. The sport is an equalizer, a sport where anyone from any nation can rise to the highest success. Yet, for every dream in gymnastics, nightmares are more common. The road ahead is uncertain, but the end is clear. Every day, these girls ask themselves not what they can do for themselves, but what they can do for their country and their sport. No one could even imagine that Black girls could dominate a sport that has been seen as being controlled by Eastern Europeans. That a girl who was once homeless could inspire a future generation. A daughter of a drug addict could be the greatest of all time. And a Black Brazilian girl from a slum after three ACL tears could still change history of the sport. The unthinkable only needs one person to think it's possible to translate it into reality. Who knows what the future of the sport holds? We can predict, but most likely we'll be wrong. We do know that there's always going to be another inspiration, someone who dares to be the main character, someone who unfortunately fails to even be written in the next book. And y'all know who I'm talking about. Anyway, I've been your host, Langston. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Intro to Gymnastic course. I really want you guys to keep, tuning in and have a nice day, you guys. Goodbye.